Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. Today, we are looking at something a little bit different. One of you shared Psalm 60 with us from the New Living Translation, and we wanted to kind of go through it together. And I guess the reason that this is interesting to do a deep dive on is it's so short, but it packs in so much.
It does. It's amazing how much is packed into just 12 verses.
Yeah. And also it's so raw. Like, it really gives you a glimpse into what was going on at the time. And like, I think a lot of times when we read the Bible, maybe we skip over some of these historical books or we think, oh, it doesn't really apply to me. But actually the emotions that are being expressed here, I think, are so universal and so timeless.
They are. And what's fascinating is that we have that historical marker right at the beginning, attributed to King David. And then it mentions battles against Aram-Naharaim and Aram-Zobah. Joab's victory over Edom. And it even tells us the tune it was meant to be sung to Lily of the testimony. And so you have this sort of historical context. That's really fascinating because it gives us a window into what's going on in David's life.
Absolutely.
In this particular moment.
Yeah. And so let's get right into it. So these first few verses, what feeling jumps out at you? To me, it's just this sense of complete abandonment. It says, you have rejected us, you've broken down our defenses, you have been angry with us. Like, it's so exposed.
Yeah, it's a very vulnerable place to start.
Yeah.
Isn't it? It really does speak to this kind of fundamental upheaval. It goes beyond just like a military setback or something. It feels like sort of cosmic disorientation, like everything is out of whack.
Yeah, and then this image of drinking wine that sent us reeling. Like, there's just this deep suffering there. Okay, so then we get to verse 4, and suddenly there's a shift. There's this raising of a banner, a rallying point for those who fear you in the face of attack. So there's this sudden spark of hope that appears.
And that banner is really potent. It's like the symbol of unity. It's almost like divine protection is being restored.
Yeah, and then there's that word interlude. I was curious about that. Like, what does that signify?
So that probably indicated like a pause or a change in the musical expression.
Oh, okay.
So it really underscores
It's not just
this pivotal shift.
Word.
Yeah, in the Psalm's emotional journey.
Okay, so then after that, we get this plea for rescue, and it's based on God's past promises. So there's this mention of dividing up the land, like Shechem, Sukkoth, Gilead, Manasseh, and then these symbolic roles for Ephraim as like the helmet, like providing warriors, and Judah as the scepter, so the source of kings. So what's being communicated through all of these references?
Well, I think what's interesting here is this appeal to kind of establish history and divine commitment. So, that division of the land is a reminder of God's order. He's already done this. And then assigning these roles to Ephraim and Judah highlights the importance of military strength and leadership for the nation's well-being.
And then we get to verse 8, which to modern ears can sound quite harsh.
It can.
It talks about Moab as a wash basin, wiping feet on Edom in triumph over Philistia. So how do we understand this kind of language in the context of this psalm?
Well, if we remember that historical context of David's reign, and the fact that he was constantly battling with these neighboring people, this is likely symbolic language expressing dominance and the desire for secure borders. The imagery, while it's strong, it's reflecting those geopolitical realities of the time.
Gotcha. Okay, and then that leads into the questions in verses 9 and 10.
Yeah.
So there's this yearning for victory over Edom, but then also this really vulnerable questioning of God. Like, have you rejected us? Will you no longer march with our armies? So it's like a moment of real doubt.
It's so real, and it's so human. I think it raises this fascinating point about the nature of faith in challenging times. Even someone like David, who we see as this figure of great faith, he expresses this internal struggle and this fear of divine abandonment in the face of adversity. And I think it reminds us that faith isn't necessarily the absence of doubt. You can still have those questions.
Absolutely.
And those struggles.
Okay, so then the psalm concludes with this strong declaration of dependence. It says, oh, please help us, for all human help is useless. With God's help, we will do mighty things. So it's like this complete return to relying on divine power.
Exactly. The ending really reinforces the idea that, ultimate strength and victory come not from human effort alone, but from divine assistance. And I think that acknowledgement of human limitations is really key to understanding that final statement of faith.
So it's interesting, in this brief psalm, we see this powerful emotional arc from feeling utterly abandoned to finding this renewed hope and trust in divine power. And it's all against this backdrop of David's, real military campaigns.
Yet what I find really striking is how this ancient text manages to weave together those really intense personal feelings, the despair, the hope, with these grand pronouncements about nations and divine authority, especially as something that was intended to be sung.
Right.
I mean, it really speaks to that complexity of the human experience.
Yeah, it does. And it makes you think about how, understanding the original historical context of these ancient writings can really deepen our appreciation for those very human struggles with faith, doubt, and that need for strength when we're facing those tough times.
Definitely.
Thanks for going on this deep dive with us.
My pleasure.
And we'll see you all next time.
See you then.